Now we're going to discuss adding devices to the OBM using the Discover function. The Discover function is a very powerful tool to use, and it makes loading devices into the OBM extremely easy. The devices need to be in their default state in order for the OBM to discover them. That means that they have default password and keys in them. So let's go over here to our tree and go to our default NOC site, which we're going to leave it with the settings default. And prior to discovering a NOC site device, we would have to enter the IP address in the device and put it on the network so that we can discover it. And that's done using a browser. You can look at that in a manual or a separate video. If you browse into the default IP address of the device, all of our devices, 199.199.199.1, you can browse into that. If you're prompted for any credentials, it's admin using a capital A. Everything else is lowercase. If you go in there, you can set your network parameters through the browser and then snap the device into the network. Then you'll be able to discover it to get all the different parameters out of it. So here, I'm going to go over here. We've done that already. We have hit the Discover button. We're now going to look here. We're going to do Network Direct. Because these are head-end devices, they are directly connected to the network, and we've entered IP addresses in them already. So I am going to discover them. I'll discover two separate devices. This one is at that address. You'll leave the port. We use port 49s for any of our programming in Discover. I'm going to click search, and it's going to go out, and you'll see that it's connected to the device. It's logging onto the device, and then it's going to pull all the information from that device down. And that just makes it a lot easier for us to put the device into the OBM. So it's picked that up. I hit a save. And now it says, do you want to update the system password and key? Normally you would say yes here because that will change the default system password and key. I am not going to do that because I'm constantly changing things here, so I'm going to hit a no. Then it's going to ask you what remote group do you want to assign this device to, because all of our head-end devices can be assigned to remote groups. So if you have 10 remote groups, you can have a head-end device that's only assigned to 1, 2, 3, couple of groups. More often than not, they're assigned to all the groups. So we're just going to say group 1 because everything's still here in our default setting. You'll notice over here under groups that, oh, that should have been checked there, that group 1. Maybe that would be checked when we close it. So what's happened now is we pull the device in, and through these tabs we can look at all the settings on the device. We see it's a port authority 111. It's given a name. We'll just call it new device. And if there is already a device called new device, it'll be new device 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So we can call this here, give it whatever your nomenclature is. We see a signal strength for our LTE because this happens to be an LTE device. Serial number, version, how we want to communicate with the device. If it is a head-end device or a client, all the comms is going to be network direct because that's how the OBM interfaces with that device. We can turn on and off our security parameters here. Network properties should already be loaded, but you want to check those. You can turn on and off real-time logs. We recommend that heartbeat and real-time logs are turned on. The LTE parameters should already be in here. That's a fixed IP address that you cannot change. You can put an access control list if you want. System options, I'm going to shut off triple DES. Notice whenever I make a change I do a save. There's no reason for triple DES, and it just loads another form in the FPGA. System password and key, these are the things you're going to want to update. The system password here in the key, you're going to want to update that. You can have it generate a key, change your password. That ties it to the OBM. I'm not going to do that here. Internal modem, device audit, the system logs really have no meaning for what we're trying to do right here. So what we're going to do here is we already did a save on that, and we're just going to push that config back into the device. We're going to do a program reload, and you can notice down here on the right exactly what's happening. So the description is it's logging into the device, it's entering the password, and it is configuring that device. Okay, so while that's happening, let's go take a look at our remote group. Now the remote device we're going to load either over, so this can be a device that's been installed at a remote site, connected to a telephone line, or using the LTE interface. We're going to use the LTE interface for this particular example. So what you want to do is select the group that you'd like to put the device into. Okay, and then you're going to want to hit the Discover button. Now I am waiting for my head-end device to be configured because I'm going to need that, because we're going to use the cell-cell tunnel interface. Now we can see that head-end device has been programmed. Cell-cell tunnel means we're going to use a head-end device. We're going to use a radio, the LTE radio in that device, which is cell, go out over the network to a cell radio on the other side, create a tunnel across that, and use that for comms. So you will need the IP, so you will need the remote device plugged in and connected to the LTE network. If you're going to do a network dial, you'll need it plugged in and connected to a telco network. See, this network dial out would be here, in which case we use a phone number. Cell tunnel is here, in which case we're going to use an IP address. Now, the IP address for the cell is on the underside of the device. It's also on the cardboard box the device is shipped in, and it is also in a piece of paper that's shipped with the device. So now I'm going to do a search. And the way the system is working here is it's reaching out to the head-end device that we just installed. It's going to log on to that device first, and then it's going to reach out over the LTE network to connect to that remote device. Once it connects to the remote device, it's going to log in using the default parameters, and it's going to download into the device. That's why we encourage you, after you bring a device into the system, change those default parameters so nobody else can find that. So if you notice here, it connected, and we are now pulling this device down. Again, do I want to update? You should hit yes. I am going to hit no because I'm not going to change anything here. Same kind of parameters here. Security parameters. I want to give the device a different name. So I'm going to call this CDI remote. Give it some type of name. My communication here is going to be all cell tunnel. This is management communication, is how the OBM communicates to the device. That's when OBM is going to program it or poll it. Terminal communication is how your engineers are going to access the device. In this case, we're going to use all cell tunnel because that's the only comms we have with it. If we had network direct or network dial out, we can use those. You can have primary and secondary for the OBM. It will try the primary. If it can't get through there that way, it will try the secondary. Network properties. If this was a default device, you probably would have 199.199.199.1 in here. If you would like to have that connect to the remote network, you can put those parameters in here. Enable real-time logs. You can have that set up if you'd like. Here's the LTE address with the correct APN. If we want to bring the LTE information back over the network, which is over the LTE network, which is typically what we do here, we would pull down this list over here, which apparently is not available. Two antennas, which would let us enter the cellular IP address of the head-end device. I happen to know that this is I believe that's the IP address of the head-end device. Okay, that function is not working right now. Let's see if we do. If we enable real-time log and heartbeat, will it show up? No, it's not showing up now. So that should show the cellular IP address of the head-end device. And actually, if we go back up here, we can take a look at that, and that's 1064.1.80. So I'm going to change this here to 10.64.1.80. Okay, and that should be changed here. 1.80. So I get my heartbeat and my real-time logs. I'm not going to do syslog. Real-time logs are typically enough. Again, anytime I make a change, I'm going to hit a save. Access control list, I really don't care about. System options, I should have updated those, but I didn't. Define ports, you can go to each port of a remote device, and right now it defaults to host port 1, 2, and 3, but you can say Cisco 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can go to, again, Cisco. I can go here and say I'm going to a Juniper. So whatever you actually have connected to these devices, you can do that here. You can also do the same for your power ports if they're connected to those. Okay, again, I'm going to save that. And then we're going to program this device. So we've made our parameter changes. We're going to do cell programming. We're going to do program reload. So if we watch over here to the right, we are using the client device. First we log into the head-end client device. Then we are going to reach out over the LTE network, and that's going to push this configuration out to the remote, and that is going to bind the head-end device to the remote device so that they can go into encryption. Okay. Once that finishes up, that will be all done, and you'll be able to connect to a device. So we have used Discover to install a head-end device using the Discover. We've made a few changes to it, programmed it. We've then gone to our remote site, and we've discovered over cell tunnel. We made some changes. We are programming that device now. And in another video, we will connect to the device.